All right, Courtney, how are you? And nice talking to you again. What's up?
I'm feeling pretty good.
All right.
I just ate half a bar of dark chocolate.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I feel great.
Okay. Let's talk about your health. And I know you've been really trying to get healthy for a while, and now let's talk about your health. When did you know something wasn't right, and you weren't feeling well? You know.
um, yeah, so this, first of all, this all started in 2020,
Yeah.
you know, around this time of the pandemic.
Right.
I noticed I was wearing the mask and I noticed that I was breaking out, like hormonally on my jawline.
Right.
And I blamed it on the mask, and I thought, it's the mask, that's why I'm breaking out. But it started to spread, it started to get worse. I would get hives on my neck. I wasn't really sure what was going on. I wasn't able to use the bathroom, on a
Right.
regular basis.
Right.
It was a constant struggle. So I knew something was up. I knew that there was something that I was eating. It was triggering these health problems. It was triggering anxiety. So I needed to do some research. So I drove my boyfriend a little crazy and my family. I was doing all this research. I didn't know if I had a parasite. I didn't know if I had PCOS. I didn't know if it was just an anxiety problem and that was causing it, or food allergies. I had no idea. So I got a test, and this was back in May of last year. I saw a naturopath, and she did a full health test, and that's when I knew. I learned about Candida. I did do some research on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't too sure what exactly caused it. I guess there's a number of causes. Women, we're susceptible to this because we take birth control. And
Right.
if you take a birth control, if you take an antibiotic, if you overindulge in sugar, pasta, and
Mm-hmm.
like carbohydrates, starches, all that stuff, right? That turns to sugar in your body. So that really, really can cause it. You just have this, basically it's like an imbalance of bad bacteria in your gut. So what happens is the candida essentially, like, it perforates your gut lining and you develop a leaky gut from it. So when you eat food, causes inflammation, all those toxins
Right.
get into your bloodstream. So it's, there's a lot that I've learned about it. And since then I've been treating it, but I did confirm that was the cause. And like making the homemade pizza and eating all the pasta and drinking all the wine, that definitely contributed to it.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, when did you know that? Okay, like, women always have some kind of internal problem, but when did you know that it started taking effect with you and say, okay, something's not right here, and I got to get this checked? And when did you find out it was candida? I didn't even know what candida is until you sent me that Twitter. I mean that.
Yeah.
What?
It's okay.
Yeah.
So it's something that most people already have in their bodies.
Yeah.
Our body will know how to regulate it. But I had an overgrowth of candida because I had an imbalance of the bad bacteria. So
Right.
it's when you're not introducing good probiotics into your diet,
Mm.
and you are mostly, again, like indulging in things that just don't help your gut at all. Like, that
Right.
just basically, you're manifesting bad things, bad bacteria, inflammation, sugar, spike in your insulin, imbalance in your hormones. It's blocking your body from absorbing nutrients. So I was lacking in like iron and vitamin B and C and all these, and magnesium. It's a monster basically living inside you.
Oh my god.
Um, yeah, so the only way to get rid of it is you need to stop eating sugar, and starches. So you have to just cut sugar out of your diet completely. And also, not even, people think like, oh, honey is good sugar, you know, it's a healthier sugar, it's natural sugar. No sugar for the first, I would say, like they say, like 6 weeks. This depends on how severe it is. Like you know, there's doctors that will recommend you don't want to put your body into shock, right? So what they do is they'll kind of put you on a certain diet plan, so that way you're slowly weaning yourself off the sugar, right? So that's what I did. I slowly weaned myself off of it. I cut out gluten. That was my biggest problem there, was gluten. Affected me, really affected me. I started getting hives on my neck from eating it. Like, I just would eat pizza the next day. I'd feel itchy in my skin. Like, I just knew something was wrong. So gluten was one thing I needed to cut out. Alcohol, there's so much sugar in alcohol, so I had to cut all alcohol out. And at the time, alcohol wasn't doing me any good, so that was contributing to it as well.
Did you? It kind of sounds like kind of like a diabetic, isn't it? Like you had to watch out with the sugars. You cut out sugars, but then you eat too much sugar, you become diabetic, and your body doesn't produce insulin and stuff like that. You're okay with that, or was it?
It was more, yeah. So my body naturally,
Yeah.
I would say, I don't. How do I explain this? So again, I'm not a medical professional, but from what I know, it's my body's blood sugar levels were fine, but when I would have the refined sugar, it would spike my insulin and my cortisol levels.
Okay.
So I would get something called, there's like insulin resistance. There's different diagnosis for that, where like your body, like if you're stressed out, even if you don't eat a lot of sugar, there's something in your body that basically is, it's changing the balance, you know, essentially. So what you think is healthy may not be healthy for you. So, white rice might be healthy for one person, and that is obviously gluten-free. That's one thing I can't have still, actually. It's been 3 months since I've been strict on this diet, and I have a problem with starches. And it's because of the candida.
Right.
So, and there's also different contributing factors like pesticides, things that they're spraying on wheat. Now, you know, people have said, like, when they went to Italy, they had no problem with gluten. So it can really depend on what exactly you're eating. And I would say, because society and like our food isn't as natural as we really think it is, you know, the things like, you know, our fruits and vegetables have been modified. Our apples contain a lot more sugar. They're a lot larger, you know, so they contain a lot more sugar than they used to. So we have to really just be careful. So I put myself on a diet plan.
Right.
And from my naturopath, you know, she kind of guided me in how the best way to, what I had to do is I had to cut out anything that contained fungus. So yeah, dairy, cheeses, mushrooms. I couldn't have mushrooms. Again, no starches, no potatoes. Like, I cut out alcohol, everything. It was like, I don't, it's crazy to think that I've done it, and now I can handle it. If people are, you know, eating and indulging in front of me, I don't crave it. But at the time, it was, you know, it was quite the struggle. It was quite the struggle for that.
Did you? How long did you detox for? Or are you still detoxing now?
It's an ongoing process. You know, like we just got over the holidays, so I did indulge a little bit. Like, I had sweet potatoes, and again, like for 3 months, I had no potatoes. So I was like, wow, like I felt a high off of eating sweet potatoes. You know, because my body wasn't used to it. It was like, wow, what's this? Right away I felt like I
Yeah.
chugged a coffee. It was very strange. Um, yeah, so that was exciting.
Did you notice a lot though? Besides when you were on a detox and you started eating that, and you felt that natural high because your sugar kind of spiked up, and you're feeling all these your taste buds starts tasting all this good stuff all of a sudden. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
so they say there's a period of time when you think that everything's okay. You start, like, now I have, regular, like, bowel movements.
yeah,
I'm not up at night crying in pain, because I can't use the bathroom. So
yeah,
things are a lot better now. My gut lining has healed,
right,
but there's that chance where the candida overgrowth might still be there. So I might think I'm okay, but I can continue to feed it right now, and it could get worse, and then I would have to start this process all over again. So it forces you to practice self-discipline. Like,
right,
I really had no choice.
right,
This is my health. This is my wellness. Most importantly, like, emotional, mental, physical,
yeah.
spiritual health. Like, I've been through quite the journey with this whole detox of everything. Like, friends,
Yeah.
family, like, you name it. Like, it's been a whole 100% detox.
So your pretty much your whole life was a roller coaster ever since you got into the detox, or ever since you know that something wasn't happening and something wasn't right, because you were, well, like you like to go out and have a good time with your friends and whatnot, and you'll have a drink here and there. Was it kind of like a gradual thing, and then that every time you would be, have a drink here and there, it started taking effect as you kept going?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I gradually stopped going out.
Yeah.
I would say it was really hard just to cut everything completely cold turkey.
Right.
I had to talk to my friends about it. They were wondering what was going on with me.
Right.
There were times where, like with my skin, I felt really embarrassed about going out. So some nights I would say, like, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, and I would just skip going out just because I was, like, really ashamed of
Yeah.
how I looked, and I didn't want to make it worse because at the time I think I knew that alcohol just made everything worse because of the stress that came along with it for me. So
Right.
it was definitely a slow process, I would say, and it was really important for me to explain to my family and friends what was going on, because a lot of people, honestly, they don't really understand it, and I wouldn't have understood it either myself 3 years ago. I would have been like, "What? Like, that's crazy! Wow, that's that." Because at that time, I could eat whatever I wanted and drink whatever I wanted, and that was fun.
Right.
So, yeah.
So how you coping it better now, because now you know what it is, and you know the procedures, when to eat properly, or maybe steer off a little bit here and there, indulge a little bit, or are you just gonna stick on track for 3 months and then let loose a little bit, and then, like, how's that regimen gonna do with you, or are you just gonna keep going and say, okay, cut out completely, and then and how's that gonna change your whole life? You're gonna change your process, like what you're gonna eat, your daily food intake, your weekly occurrence with your friends, and you can't be
Yeah.
like normal anymore. You have to set always a date and time for you to live better, because you're trying to live a healthier life, right? Because of what your condition right now, you know.
Yeah. So, I've actually been drinking alcohol,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, since, like, I would say on a weekly to monthly basis
Yeah.
since I was 15, 16 years old. So
Right.
I don't have any kids. I never even had the 9 months off of booze. So I literally have been just, you know, feeding my liver crap for
Yeah.
that long. And it's been working its butt off to try to clean everything out, you know, from fast food, from like the gluten, the dairy, the things that I always had a problem with, and I ignored it. I used to say, oh, you know what? This is worth it. The ice cream's worth it. The cheese is worth it. You know, I always thought that I was kind of immune and that I would just suffer for a short while and then I could bounce back. When you're young, yes, turning 28, I've learned that changes. That definitely changes. So it's been really such an eye-opener, actually, since, you know what, this is going to be, I'm going to continue this journey, I think, for the rest of my life, where I will go through periods of intermittent fasting, detoxing. One thing I'm really interested in right now is the Daniel fast. So that's something I want to do in the future when I can have starch again. Because it's basically like a no meat 10-day fast. And then if you want to go really crazy, it's 21 days, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, it's no meat. So that's something I want to try. I've been eating what's called, I would say, a keto diet, minus the dairy and gluten. I think they have dairy in keto. So the Candida diet, it's like a paleo diet in a sense. So it's very strict, but a lot of it is about just like your meat and your veg, and you basically burn your fat instead of carbohydrates for fuel. So I've had to up my fat in order to stay at a decent weight. When I quit sugar, like I'm already a very like petite person. So when I quit sugar, people were very concerned about my health. They looked at me and they thought, oh my gosh, you've lost more weight. How? I'm like, I don't know. I just quit sugar. Like, it showed up right away in my face.
Oh, really? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because you're like, oh my God, what's wrong? You gotten thinner and you're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hammer down these, like 100% dark chocolate bars with zero sugar, and there's like 27 grams of fat per bar. I don't know how. I'm in pretty good shape, and I eat a lot of avocado, again, healthy fat. You know, I eat a lot of eggs. It's been quite an interesting, like I've learned a lot about diet and lifestyle through this journey. And I don't think I want to stop. Like, I feel like I've had more energy when I wake up in the morning. I don't feel as tired. You know, I used to eat a whole bag of chips and go to sleep, you know, and now I've been doing the intermittent fasting and zero carbohydrates. So I'm not having that issue with sugar and you get these really bad, like, I just want to say, like, when you burn off the sugar, you know, you crash at the end of it. So this, you know, diet has really prevented me from feeling that crash that I feel all the time. So yeah, it's something I would love. I want to continue it. It's very strict, so not for forever, but I'm going to try to reintroduce things that I can, but I don't want this to ever happen to me again. So I don't think I'm going to ever really eat gluten or dairy. I think those things really did affect me. And, you know, I feel a lot better about myself, and I don't want to go back to having a hard time using the bathroom and dealing with those issues.
Right. Did you did you ever find out maybe it's like a hereditary thing? Like maybe you might have got it from your mom, or your dad, or your grandmother, or your grandfather, or the history. Do you have a history of that as well, or you found out that, oh my God, I got candida? Like, it could be like hereditary thing.
I mean, I think that our genetics can trigger, like certain issues to come up. But for me, like, when I was doing all the research, they said if you've ever been on an antibiotic, it could really disrupt the balance in your microbiome. So basically, you know, it's killing the good bacteria in your gut. I do believe that it's not just about genetics. I think that a lot of it's dietary, environmental. Like a lot of girls who went on birth control also struggle with hormone issues when they come off of it later on.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but it can affect you just from being on. Your body's relying on
Right.
unnatural hormones for so long, and I was on the pill for a really long time, and I've taken the Plan B pill a few times, and I'm just, you know what, if I could go back, I do wish that I made smarter choices with my body. I don't think I fully understood about how this would have affected me long term.
Wow. So you mean to tell me you thought, okay, first of all, you thought it was COVID. Now, you really think it was caused by the pill? Because I heard a lot of bad things about when women are on the pill, too. It causes all kinds of hormonal stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's polyovarian,
Yeah.
PCOS,
Yeah.
polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yeah, so that when you eat certain foods, same thing. Like if you eat like starches or
Yeah.
like, I would say like foods that are unnatural, like if you're having chips and vegetable oil and all that stuff, it can definitely trigger some hormone issues and a flare up, I guess, like cysts on your ovaries, from what I've heard. I thought I had that. I didn't really get fully tested for it. I do have the option of going in and getting an ultrasound for that. You know what? I feel like what I've been doing, like, has been really helping my gut, and I've been working on healing my gut. I've been making my own bone broth. I have matcha tea in the morning, which is actually a really healthy binder. So when you're going through this whole detox process, if your gut isn't healed, if you got that leaky gut and like whatever you're detoxing is getting into your system, so you need a binder. You need something that's going to take those toxins and pull it out of you when you use the bathroom.
Right.
So I really strongly suggest for anyone who's detoxing to think of chlorophyll, to think of just like the matcha is really good. It's got there's a lot of good antioxidants and healing properties. The caffeine in it isn't. It's just the caffeine isn't like, it's not like when you drink a coffee and you get that really quick wake up, or
right.
it feels like you took a drug. No, I would say matcha, it just feels more natural when you drink it. Like I find like my energy, like I will feel more energized throughout the day. Like I've had my fair share of nutrients. Like I feel usually pretty good, and I take vitamin D.
Right.
That helps. A dark chocolate, I love it. I love Epsom salt. I take these Epsom salt baths that, basically your body will just absorb a lot of the magnesium from like dark chocolate or the Epsom salt. Magnesium is super, super important for our bodies. A lot of people are deficient. You want to make sure you're getting all of your nutrients. I would say if you're missing anything like vitamin C, then you're not going to absorb the vitamin D. Like you really need to balance that. Same with like iron. There's vitamin C that does help you also absorb iron in your body. So
right. Wow.
You need the balance, essentially.
And you're doing pretty good in balancing your food, your food intake,
yeah.
Okay. And what about physical? Do you go out and walk? Are you starting to go to the gym? How are you coping with that to make your body feel better, as well as your outside, as well as your inside and your outside as well too? Are you taking care of that aspect too? More health, that conscious that way?
I've always been an outdoorsy person.
Yeah.
I like go for walks. I should be going for walks more than often than I do, but when the weather's nice, I usually will, go for a walk like every other day, But I make sure that I'm not. See, my life was, I had put so much pressure on myself before to make sure I went to the gym, to make sure I went for that walk, and
Yeah.
it was just causing a lot of stress in my life. And I feel like now I'm not planning so much in my day, where
Right.
I know exactly like what my priorities are, and when I get done work, I want to have a nice, good home cooked meal. So I make sure that, I eat well, and then if after I eat I feel I need to rest, then I rest for a little while, and if I'm feeling up for a walk after that, I go for a walk. If I feel like I just need to take a bath and go to sleep, I just take a bath and I go to sleep, and there's no shame in relaxing.
Right.
Us 9 to 5ers, we can only do so much in one day and give so much of ourselves to our job, and then we have some people obviously have lots like family matters going on in their lives,
Yeah.
people to tend to. Like, it's just important to take care of number one, right?
Right. Exactly. You're taking initiative of your health more now.
Yeah, and I do go to the gym. Sorry, I do go to the gym,
That's good.
and I go twice a week.
Okay.
Again, like I'm a fit person. I've lucked out with genetics and that factor. So the sugar, instead of making me gain weight, made me break out, which is hilarious. But no, I mean, I don't go too crazy anymore. I used to really push it at the gym. I'd have a lot of anxiety, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to sprint. I need to just release this anxiety and sprint it off. And I wasn't calming myself down, and I thought that I could just shake off the anxiety, by working out fast and doing all this really heavy lifting, or I'd really feel bad about missing the gym for a week because of this life going on. So then I would just up my weight the next time I went,
Yeah.
which just things that I wasn't really listening to my body. I kept listening to my mind. And when I've learned this one thing through this, and it's to not do things out of guilt or shame. Like, when you do something, do it because it's right for you, because your body wants it. Because, I crave chocolate because I have very low iron.
Right.
So that's how I indulge. But yeah, like, I know what's good for me. I've lived through this whole experiment, and it's been more than 3 months of it, because last May I did it for 3 months, and then I just went through a really tough mental period in my life, and I started to drink again.
Right.
My friends were going out. I had birthdays. I felt like, oh man, I don't want to be excluded. I don't want to be the girl that's too healthy and, like, too good for the bad stuff. Like, I just was feeling, again, that shame and that guilt. And so I would push myself to drink. And, I also, there were people in my life who were, I don't want to say they are still now, because they've actually made changes in their lives, but they were heavier drinkers.
Right.
And when I would say no, they, would pressure me into having just one. And I thought, okay, just one. Oh, just one more. I've already had one. What's the point? So then you do that, and the next day, I would again. I'd have to suffer the consequences, and I would feel so bad, because when you quit something, you go through all that pain for nothing.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow, I suffered for 3 weeks to then set myself back. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth giving into peer pressure. For anyone listening, it shouldn't be socially acceptable to just, like, to pressure your friends into things they don't want to do. Like, it's common knowledge. I find that people forget.
Right. Exactly.
The people who love you are going to support what's good for you. They're going to support you. They're not going to want to bring you down to their level. That's wrong.
Right. Did you feel that peer pressure more when you were 15, when you're just learning about, hey, going out and having a good time, have a drink here and there, and then it kind of ball effect? Did you feel like that for such a long time? 15 is a pretty young age. I started drinking when I was 13. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic, but the fact is I started partying drinking at 13, and then when I hit 19, it was like no holds barred. You know what I mean? So, but I'm a guy. There's a difference between a guy and a girl as well too. Guys can drink a little bit more than girls, but with
Unless you're a girl that feels like she's one of the guys, then you have a problem.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Were you that, Courtney? Where you were like, I'm like one of the guys. I'm gonna drink just like the guys. Were you like that?
Oh, for sure I was.
Really?
Yes.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. My first time, okay, this is
Wow.
something I want to touch base on. This is a big thing for me.
Okay.
Um, so I would watch people drink, and, my mom and my dad, they weren't alcoholics. Like, they were social drinkers.
Yeah.
They'd have friends around, pull
Yeah.
out the wine, pull out the whiskey, whatever it was. I've been around family, I've been around people.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, didn't understand alcohol the way I should have. I would pour myself a glass of wine once in a while when I was 15, 16, and I'd drink the wine and think, okay, I can drink the whole glass and I'll be okay.
Right.
And then my mom, like, she was okay with it at the time. Like, maybe I wasn't that young drinking around her that much, but
Yeah.
I would say, like, she'd have me have a little bit here and there, and maybe I kind of take a little bit more than I should have. But what happened was, okay, so this is how I feel. So I didn't understand how to drink like an adult, and I thought, I want to be like an adult, I want to adult and just down some booze and be able to handle it and have a good time.
Right.
So I was with some friends, and I was in grade 10. So yeah, I think I was 15. And I remember me and my friend, we went into her parents' liquor cabinet, and we found the Canadian Club way in the back. Figured they're not gonna notice this.
Yeah.
And so basically, we poured into a water bottle. So I don't fill it up to the top, but yeah, almost 250 milliliters of whiskey was in this bottle. And so basically, it's me and this guy who's a year younger than me. We're at a park, and we're taking the bottle, and I'm doing a couple swigs. He's doing a couple swigs. We're just standing there being like, this tastes like shit, but this is what adulting is like. This is what adults are doing. They drink it fast. They down it together, right? When you watch your family do shots and shots and shots, you think that you can handle the same thing. You don't understand.
Right.
So I downed too much of it, and so did he, and we got very sick. And, like, I projectile vomited on my friend's lawn. I passed out. I was throwing up everywhere in the house. They called my mom. My mom had no idea. Like, I was an angel growing up. I was a little Christian girl, like, going to youth group. And then here I am, just completely shit-faced. I don't even know what I said to those people. And this friend of mine, like they were seniors, right? So I remember, like, going to school and being super embarrassed. But anyways, yeah, so my friend, the guy that I was drinking with, he was different. He wasn't moving. His pupils were dilated. There was something wrong with him. My mom's a nurse. She was really concerned about him. He wasn't talking. He wasn't really moving. So we had to call the ambulance for him, and found out that he was taking Ritalin, and he got really drunk, and he almost died, and he, had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
So, you know what? Like, when you're young, like, it sucks that a lot of the young kids have to learn that the hard way.
Right.
I wish that in school they would talk about drugs, right? So you're like, oh yeah, don't do drugs, right, when you're 15.
Right.
Some people try them out, whatever. But alcohol, they don't touch base on the percentages. They don't touch base on, like, building a tolerance. They don't touch base on what it does to your body, how it's a poison, They don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. Some people are allergic to it. I'm kind of allergic to red wine, like the tannins in the wine. So really, like, I would wish that people would talk about that more in school. For like, I would say grade 8. I think that's an appropriate age, because at that point, they're old enough to know what's going on when their family is partying around them. So That's where it all started learning.
Wow, no kidding, eh? Well, now that you experienced that at that age, and did you think that throughout that time when you started, it started affecting your body, and then that accumulated to the candida now, or do you think that was it but because of your diet or hereditary? Like, what do you think?
The hereditary part, so gut lining,
Yeah,
something called like diverticulosis,
right.
um, or diverticulitis. My aunt has that, so it's just it's basically having a very small intestine, and it's the weak intestine. So you can only eat certain foods. There's certain foods that really aggravate it, that can really disrupt it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's a genetic factor that can cause it. Not just that, but just I don't know. I would say you're like having. There's some people who naturally have strong immune systems,
Yeah.
and there's other people who don't. And I think that when you don't have a strong immune system, like when you are drinking a lot, when you are indulging in sugars, when you're not sleeping well, that could definitely affect your immune system. So yeah, that leaves you more susceptible to basically just causing, like, it causes hormonal balances in women, but it can cause issues in men too. Like there's no one's immune to anything, you know.
Right. Did
Like
you?
there's fatty liver. There's all kinds of things that
Yeah.
like, or having like high cholesterol or high blood pressure. Like there's a lot of issues that people can run into from just not eating well, and I mentioned those because I know people that are young that have those issues who didn't reach those diagnosis until later on in life. So like around your 30s, yeah. You can't, like, when you're young, you think you're immune to everything. You don't think about your health because you're young. You're bouncing back, right?
Right.
Catches up with you when you get older.
Well, how does this work out then? If you're gonna go out with your friends or your family and you're out for dinner and stuff like that, it's gotta be. You can't eat half the things that's on the menu. Like, how does that work for you?
You know what? Again, like
Yeah.
I experience that. Like, you know what? Sometimes I'll check the menu before I go places,
Yeah.
and I follow more of a Mediterranean diet, so I love Italian food.
Right.
So, you know, I'll just get like veal limone, and I'll have some vegetables on the side. I'll ask them if they can make everything in 100% like just olive oil, no mixture of olive oil and canola or vegetable oil. A lot of the time, you know, to
Right.
save money, not to use those oils, and those oils are fabricated oils,
Right.
vegetable oil, not good for us. So these are small requests that I make to the server in confidence. I just basically will, if I'm at a place that's really not healthy, like pub food, I'll order chicken salad. You
Okay.
know, I'll get extra olives on it. I find my ways, like at home, I love arugula, so anytime I eat meat, I'll eat it with like a bedding of arugula with my own dressing with red onions. Um, I like um, I like to make lamb a lot. I love lamb. Like lamb stews are really good. I made my own lamb bone broth, and there's all kinds of. I make omelets. I make my own avocado dressing. Sometimes when I make salads, I'll add tahini, a little bit of chickpeas, and honestly, it teaches you, like, this diet has taught me how to eat in a very creative, wholesome way. I'm using real ingredients, and I guess, like, the foods that I'm eating are healthy for me to digest.
Right.
And I couldn't be a vegetarian on this diet because I have a problem with beans.
Right.
I lack the enzymes to break down the beans, so they tend to really bloat me. You know, I also learned too. I used to drink carbonated water a lot with meals because I wasn't drinking alcohol. So I would order carbonated Perrier or San Pellegrino, and I would be so bloated at the end of my meal. So I stopped doing that, and instead I drink water half an hour before a meal, and then I drink water half an hour after a meal.
Right.
If I'm at a nice restaurant, they have mineral water, which is what I love. I love good water now. I spend my money on water instead of wine. So I don't know. I get a little bit of a high off of eating well. Like I feel good about myself after. There's like a reward.
So how does your friends take it, and even your boyfriend go, okay, now you're getting too picky here, or do they understand because you have to eat that because you're a wellness that you have to take care of?
My
Yeah,
boyfriend.
yeah.
Okay, so most boyfriends would be like, "Oh my God, I made it." They'd be like, "Oh, I can't bring you anywhere. You're embarrassing me." No, my boyfriend, he has worked in the service industry his whole life. He's Sicilian,
That's cool.
loves food. His family loves food. Like his sister, she is Sicilian. She's gluten free. So I mean, like
Right.
people work things out, and they understand that we're not all immune to everything.
Yeah.
He loves me, so he accepts the fact that, I'm on this strict diet, but he works with me through it.
Okay.
So, no, I don't feel like he's one of those people who, makes fun of me for it. No, none of that. He knows the struggle that I've been through, so
Okay.
he will take it as a challenge, and the stuff that we eat is a lot better
Okay.
than how most people eat, I will say. During the week, we eat very well. Like we eat very, very well.
So he's
No
pretty.
complaints about that. Like steak, scallops,
Right.
like chicken breast. Like we always, everything is, like I said, like wholesome ingredients. I love Jamie Oliver, so I'm always looking up recipes from him. And I follow this guy, Flab City. He actually just posted this video, and he made this keto meatloaf with almond flour, eggs, and a bunch of herbs. And I made that the other day, and it was delicious. There's always a better way, is what I say. So what you think might be the way, there's always a way to improve how you're eating. And every person is different.
Yeah, so he's very supportive of you. So he's supporting you, and he's also helping you out as well. So you're working pretty much together to to live a better you, right?
Yeah, and he's noticed improvements with his digestive system. He feels like he has more energy now. He's noticing he's become more cut. Like you can see the muscle definition, right? Like
right.
Sugar does cause your body to become more like inflamed, and it's very interesting. Like I always had fat on my stomach. I always had fat, and I never had a problem with it. Healthy body image is very, very important.
Right.
But for a woman who is thinking like, how do I lose this fat? How do I shred this off? I'm telling you, when you quit sugar, man, and alcohol included in that, it changes you. It changes your face. I found that my jawline shows more. It's more prominent now. I have nice full cheeks because, I'm glowing from all the nutrients. I make these ginger smoothies, and you put berries in them, like just low sugar berries, like raspberries and blueberries. And
right.
I don't have much fruit, like I told you. So I have green apple, raspberries, blueberries, and sometimes blackberries.
Wow. Well, Courtney, it seems like you're starting to live a healthier daily lifestyle now, that because of your condition, it's making you become more healthier or health conscious, and you want to be more healthier mentally, physically, spiritually. And how does that work out with you spiritually now too? Are you more in tune with your spirituality, with God, or are you more spiritual now that you taking this new path because of your condition, or How does that work?
Yes,
Yeah. So you
yes, yes,
okay?
yes. I feel
Yes. Okay.
100% more
Okay.
spiritual. I
Good.
think this is all a part of God's plan for me
Good. Yeah.
because this helped me turn some pages in the Bible, man. I was so desperate for
Yeah.
help. You know, I'm a born again Christian, but
Good.
you know, like I partied and I walked away from living out God's plan and living out God's teachings. You know, I
Right.
always said, I'm a believer, but I wasn't acting like a real believer. You know, I wasn't setting a good example for other Christians and other people. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
was living a double life. And, you know, like Jesus says, like, you know, don't live of the world. Like, he wants us to live for God. Like, that's for him. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I was struggling so much, like I told you. Like,
Yeah.
I was feeling insecure about my appearance, and I would eat and I would suffer, and there were days where I had to call in sick for work, and there were days where I'd experience the die-off effects of the candida, which can be heavy depression,
Mm-hmm.
fever, you know, migraines. It just really it takes a toll on your body, that's for sure. So
Right.
I was praying and I was just saying to myself, God, show me there's light at the end of the tunnel. Show me there's light at the end of the tunnel, because
Yeah.
there were days where I really just felt victimized by the whole situation, and I always reminded myself like this: I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. Like, I'm going through this for a reason. This is an experiment,
Mm-hmm.
and every small choice I make each day, with every small choice I make, I am seeing improvement. So I know that what I'm doing is right, and maybe one day I'll be able to help somebody else
Yeah.
who's struggling with the same problems, you know? And
Exactly.
God might know that. So
Yeah.
I been going through a spiritual cleanse. So
That's
yeah,
good.
so when you quit drinking, you
Yeah.
know, your friends don't call you every Friday night anymore. You kind of end up feeling like you're just a little bit of a, I don't want to say an old lady, because an old ladies still party. Just a hermit, I guess. Like, you just make more time for you, and you see everyone else is like getting ready and going out and eating their, you know, pizza and drinking their wine, and you're like, oh man, like those are good days. But I I feel a lot better, like just being in my pajamas and reading a book, or even like reading the Bible, and I'm not ashamed of my beliefs. Like, I really do feel God's presence in my life. I feel like I have a relationship with God.
Good. Yeah.
I feel like I feel 100% that Jesus has been looking out for me this entire process. You know, just from me praying and just really asking God for signs and to bring better people in my life, or
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
help me get through, you know, like quitting sugar, like all of the, I had to practice self-discipline in all aspects of my life. And yeah, God helped me with that.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because when you steer out the path, and no one's perfect. Like, everybody, as soon as you're born, you're not perfect. You're gonna be fallible. You're a human being. We're all gonna make mistakes. Every single one of us. And for those of who says they're perfect, don't be aware for those kind of people. But now that you know, like I said, like, I've been there and back many times over, and trials and tribulations of my life, and everybody goes through it. And once you build a relationship with God, and that's all that matters. You don't have to be a preacher or a priest. It's your relationship with God, and He does the rest. You're never going to be perfect still. You just keep following the steps. With you just reading the Bible, getting back to God, learning who's control,
Yeah,
you are in the right path. And it seems to me that you are growing up. How old are you? You're 28, 29?
I am 29 going on 30.
Okay. Say 29, 30. So you are growing up. You are.
Like, soon I'm going to be 30.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
too,
That's a
too
good age.
soon.
That's a good age.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. You're learning more about yourself and your spirituality and your faith, and it reeled you back to your faith, right? And now
Yep.
you trust him, and it, to me, hearing
Well,
from
Sunday,
you.
I can wake up Sundays now, learning. I can wake up Sunday mornings and go to church.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, like, wow, that was so difficult for me before. Like, I always felt
Yeah,
back in life by something, and I wasn't sure exactly what was causing it.
yeah,
But now I know. That's what I needed, to feel
yeah,
rested,
yeah,
to then feel like, wow, like I fed my spirit Sunday, like, and I feed it every day, but like Sunday is a big deal to me because I'm with a group of people and
that's
you're
good.
picking up on everyone's energy. You know, you just, you feel unstoppable in the
Right.
faith when you're with your circle. And I've been meeting people at church too, so
Wow.
I think that that's important.
That's very impressive. I'm glad that you're in that right path now, Courtney, because um not even like 5 years ago, I think five was it 5 years ago, I which started just
I
talking to
think
you.
when me and you talked
Yeah.
3 years ago, I think it was the beginning of COVID.
Was it beginning of COVID? Okay, that was 3 years ago,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
that was
wow.
when I went through that traumatic breakup. I was
Yeah.
with someone for 8 years, and
Yeah. So I think,
that's another thing. Stress causes a lot of shit.
oh my god. Oh
I
hell.
was that was a stressful time in my life. I was not
Oh
eating
hell.
well. I was not sleeping well, and
Yeah.
that's actually when it all kind of started.
That's when you started letting loose and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go party." Is that what you just did? You said,
Yeah,
really?
I wanted to escape, and I thought the grass was greener, like on that other side, where
Right.
like I missed out on partying. Like I there was a point in my life where I would drink every once in a while with friends, like some good cocktail bar, or like whatever. But
Yeah.
I wasn't getting drunk. But I got a little out of control, I would say, uh, where I just would like get really drunk, and then me and my friend would get into like bad arguments.
Yeah.
You know, like it just, I've noticed a pattern, I guess, and I always thought it was everybody else. But I started learning to take responsibility for my actions. And, you know, I do believe that sometimes we see a mirror, and when someone's treating you a certain way and when you don't like the way they're treating you,
Yeah.
maybe you need to rethink about how you are treating other people, because the universe is very, not tricky, but I would say that there's a lot of symbolism in this world that we need to pay attention to in order to really grow. And there's a level of awareness that was raised for me since
Right.
I've become more spiritual.
So you lost yourself. Now you are drawn back, and you went back to God, and now you feel. How do you feel now? It's not just spiritually, but your whole being. Do you feel like you're on the right track? You feel like you're in control now, or how do you feel
Yes.
now?
I feel grounded. I
Grounded.
feel grounded. I feel less confused.
Right.
God brings clarity, right?
Yeah.
They say that
It does.
the evil in the world brings confusion. So there are
Absolutely.
the moments where I was like, why do bad things always happen to me? Wah, 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 you know, all
Yeah.
those moments.
Yeah.
I was the one causing those problems and feeding into the negative. So
Yeah.
now I'm more or less, if something bad happens to me, and I wouldn't say happens to me, but I would
Yeah.
say sometimes something negative can happen for you, you
Yeah.
know, where you take a moment and you say, okay, like this is what I've learned. This is what I've learned from this. And, you know, we can't live on this earth with all sunshines and rainbows. I mean, we
Right.
have to sacrifice, I would say, like pleasures and like, we have to sacrifice the things that we want, like, just in order to grow. We can't
Absolutely.
always have immediate gratification, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're definitely mentally stronger, and you're definitely spiritually stronger too. So because you're letting God into your life again, and even though you steered away, but you're young and you're at the age now, and it's just gonna get better from. But you still gotta follow the steps. Like with me, I'm still following the steps. I'm never gonna be perfect, but all I know is that I'm in the right track and I'm in control because God is making me in control. I wouldn't be working in
Mhm.
an environment. Well, I'll be working in an environment. Well, still, but I don't go in there and party my ass off or taking girls home or taking a shot here and there because that was like a part of my past. But now it's you go work, you make your money, you leave, you respect people, and then tomorrow's another day. That's why this podcast, I'm gonna I'm gonna put more 100% forward into the positive, more positive things instead of I'm gonna steer away from the industry slowly but surely. In 2023, I'm gonna make my move and I'm gonna put 100% forward into positivity into the podcast, whatever it may be, good, bad. Because I want to hear everybody's story because everybody has a story. I know I lived it. I lost a lot of friends, and now I want to hear other people's stories, and I'm taking it one step at a time. And hearing your story, Court, like I said, I've known you since you were 5, and watching your journey, and then now you're a woman. I'm going, wow, what a big change in how you evolved from your little
Mhm.
young little happy little kid,
Yeah.
always smiling, and now like you experience how there is a lot of evil in this world, but it's a test. But there's also a lot of good in this world, but you have to find it and then follow the right path and find the right people, and then God
Yeah.
God is number one, my friend. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you're in that right path.
And I just want to say to
Yeah,
whoever is listening to this right
yeah,
now
yeah,
that one thing I've learned is, so when I was turning my back on God, I
yeah,
was feeling kind of angry. I felt alone. I felt
yeah,
isolated. I felt just separate from God. There was that point in my life.
yeah,
One thing I didn't realize is that I feel that God does suffer with us.
yeah,
I feel that He suffers with us, and it's up to us to see the signs, right? It's up to us to see that we're not a victim,
yeah,
that we can get out of it, and that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Every day when you make those simple choices for yourself, it's going to bring clarity to your mind, to your life. It's going to give you purpose, you know?
absolutely, yeah,
Um, and I just hope that, that people will remember that during times where they're just struggling mentally. When you're starting to feel like those moments of, am I, like, what is this world about? Why am I here? Is this
yeah.
worth it? It's always going to be worth it. Just you got to put the work in.
Absolutely. Well, what do
Yeah.
you what do you want to benefit from this? Do you want to uh, tell your story to a lot of people out there, or want to open up more people, or how do you want to convey your message that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that through your trials and tribulation? Is that your message right now, or
My message
yeah,
is, you need, honestly, like, from a spiritual standpoint, there are reasons why we overindulge, and we
mm,
need to ask ourselves why. We need to ask ourselves why I can't stop, and we need to ask ourselves, what's holding me back. So, for one personal thing I'd like to share is,
mm-hmm,
I had a lot of resentment that I didn't realize that I had
mm-hmm,
for the people in my past,
right,
and that's why I was carrying that victim mindset, of that, oh, this person's so mean, look, they're honking at me, and just that victim mindset is just, you're just waiting to get upset. You're just waiting to feel like you're right and everyone's wrong, and you're suffering and everyone else is having fun. Like, that's the victim mindset I'm talking about,
right,
or at least the one that I was in. So what I want to say is, honestly, this is the biggest spiritual cleanse I ever went through. Was I wrote down, and you can write it down or you can say it out loud, but it's really, really important to take a night to yourself and get on your knees, put your head on the ground, and just shout out all of those people who have harmed you, and shout out that you have forgiven them for for the pain that they've caused you. And even saying exactly what happened will help, because you're not carrying it anymore. And if you're willing to make that extra step to give it to God, He's always, always listening. And I promise you from my own experience that He will be there to take the baggage off of you. And once you remove the baggage, and once you start to really repent and ask for forgiveness for the harm that you've caused others, for the things that you feel guilty for, all of those factors are important. And so list it all off, give it to the cross, and I would say after that, just see how your life is going to change. It's amazing.
Awesome there, Courtney. Amen to that there, honey. You definitely have growing spiritually, and you're following the right steps, and that's a good message to anybody who's willing to listen. And would you like to talk more about people who are lost, or would you like to go to that path and and teach more people like that, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for
Go ahead.
me, like, I'm on a journey of, I want to, through God, like,
Yeah.
I feel a calling.
Right.
I want to be a spiritual healer for people.
Right.
I feel it in my heart that this experience, it wasn't as shocking as some other experiences that people have been through, but I still endured it for a big reason. And that big reason is, like, I have a calling to shed this light on other people who are suffering, who've given up. I almost gave up too. Like, I didn't want to continue the diet. I didn't want to continue anything. I wanted to give up. So I had a time where I felt that, and I would say it's just a matter of time, and I'm always God's gonna place me wherever He wants to place me, and I'm just along for the ride. That's how I feel essentially. But I feel this in my heart that whoever needs saving, whoever needs deliverance, whoever needs prayer, like, I am here for them. Like, for the people in my life, for the strangers that I meet, for the homeless people, like, I was a lot more giving this Christmas, and walking into the downtown mission woke me up. I heard a gentleman asking for some gloves and hats. Like, this is real.
Yeah.
You can't just think, oh, someone else is going to take care of it. No. It's your time to take care of it. It's our time to take care of it. It's not for us to blame God and say, oh, God, why is everybody suffering? How can you stand there and do nothing while these people are starving and suffering? The real question we need to ask is, how do we stand there and do nothing? That's what God's going to ask us.
Yeah.
How did you stand there and do nothing? How did you judge this person for walking slow across the street? They were walking too slow and you couldn't get through to the light fast enough. Well, I'm sorry. Like, there's so much entitlement in this world, and I want to fight that entitlement. I feel like I'm battling it every day.
Okay, you are definitely on the right track, and you are, because don't forget, we're living in a world full of sin. It's a matter of fact, it's just everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
selfish.
it's selfishness.
Selfish
Yes.
world.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
Very, where we think,
yeah,
like, I don't know. It's just everything. All the ads, like, online for body image ads.
Yeah.
Beauty, and oh my gosh, I have a younger sister who is she's turning 16, and
Right.
She was looking at me and she was saying, Courtney, I just wish my face didn't look so chubby. Okay, this girl is a size 0 in pants. I know that shouldn't be relevant, but it is, because I just feel that there's dysmorphia that's been accepted as a culture online, and I am not for that. I am not for that at all, and I can't believe that she would criticize anything about her face. I find her to be so beautiful, so beautiful. It's just, this world is so vain, and we just want to stuff our faces with food, and we just want to go to the movies and indulge and watch the media and, Netflix and chill. And, man, like, there's so much more to life that we're missing out on. So much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're you're on the right track there, Courtney. That's awesome. I just want to say before I end this podcast that I enjoyed enjoyed this talk with you and your condition, and now that you're living a healthier, spiritually motivated, and you're eating healthier, that I definitely give you kudos, and I'm glad too that we're reconnected and getting to know you more, and it's awesome that you're going to be a really good, positive role model, and you turn out to be a beautiful soul, and now you're following the steps because God is helping you on the way, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Marnie.
No problem.
Thank you so much. And if anyone reaches out to you after listening to this podcast, and if they feel they need prayer, please send me their name. I'm willing to pray for them, and I'm just here to help.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Awesome. Courtney, I will definitely send them your way if, like I said, you're in this great frame of mind and great path, and I will definitely send them your way because you're sending out positive energy, and the Lord is on your side there, honey. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to end it today's podcast, and I appreciate that, and then we will keep touch bases in the next couple of months. See how you are. How's that?
That sounds just fabulous.
Okay.
All right.
That's awesome, Courtney.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you take care of yourself and your little dog.
Yeah, I know. They're a handful.
Yeah, they weren't barking this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're actually like sleeping. It's like, okay, they're behaving.
That's good. Yeah, that sounds good. Can't wait.
Awesome, Courtney.
Can't wait to see where I'm at.
Okay.
And same with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We take care, okay?
Okay.
Thanks again.
Have a good night.
Okay, bye. All right, that was Courtney. She was definitely giving me more information on her background and what she did in the past, and having this condition that she has, and she's battling, and now she's talking and being more positive, and knowing what's going on in this world today, and she went back to God. She's a born-again Christian, which is cool, and I'm for that because I'm Catholic Christian, and I believe in that 100% because without the big man upstairs, I wouldn't be here today because I've been there, done that as well too. So I give her positive, and hopefully she keeps following in footsteps and become more positive in her life. And we'll see her in the next couple of months, see how she's at, and I'm sure she's going to do really well because God is on her side and she's being taken care of. All right, guys, so I'm going to end today's podcast, and thanks, Courtney. We will talk again in the next couple months, and I will make sure how people go your way if you need help. Bye for now. God bless. Godspeed. See you next podcast.
TikTok, all star.